Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us for an update on LawClerk's virtual associate subscription program. So as you may or may not know, we launched a subscription-based program in January of this year, 2021, and the program has grown very quickly and really surpassed our expectations in a lot of ways. And so I'm excited to be here today, along with my co-founder, Greg Garman, to give you some updates and insight on how the program is really, truly changing the lives of a lot of attorneys across the country. So I'm Kristin Tyler. I'm an attorney. I'm also one of the co-founders. And until January, LawClerk was based on a project-based gig system of project by project. An attorney could outsource and have another freelance lawyer do a research memo or help organize some discovery or draft a motion or a brief, project by project. And with subscription, we really just took it to the next level. So without further ado, I wanted to ask Greg to please introduce yourself. And can you tell us some more about why we added the subscription component to the business?
Well, Kristin, thanks for setting this up. I know people have been kind of interested in how it's been progressing over the last year. So, well, you and I have been in the legal business a long time, and we've built firms, we own a firm, and the probably the worst thing about being a lawyer, as we all know, is our timesheets. But I think second to that, most of us would agree, is sort of hiring. And it's not just that the process of hiring is difficult. It's what exactly do you need if you're a boutique, if you're a small firm, if you're a solo. Going from 1, 2, 3 attorneys, adding another, means adding another, need to double or add 50% of your workload just to keep them busy. And so, we always also knew that, hiring takes months in our experience to find good people. And so, our goal with building LawClerk has always been to make the lives of both posting attorneys and our incredible freelancers better, and to bring them together in a way that reduces overhead and makes them more efficient and makes them more money and produces a better product at the end of the day. And so, before we even launched, we knew that the gig economy, the projects, were the first thing we wanted to do, but we always had on the roadmap that we wanted to allow and build a market that didn't otherwise exist for virtual associates on a part-time basis. And so, we got to where we had thousands and thousands and thousands of just shockingly talented lawyers who were ready and available to do work. And so it was the natural evolution for what we set out to do. And it was always very, very intentional. And so, since we've launched the subscription program, the virtual associate program, it's both played out as we anticipated, and then there have been a number of surprises. But what we've seen is hundreds and hundreds of law firms and hundreds of virtual associates have met and begun work, and on both a part-time and a full-time basis. And to say it has been a success is a wild understatement in the way we've been able to put people together.
That's for sure. That's for sure. All right. With that background in place, I want to walk you through some of the mechanics of how the subscription program is set up to operate. Okay. And I am going to do a brief screen share to walk you through that. So, of course, if you haven't visited us recently, you can find us on the internet at lawclerk.legal. And we have a ton of great information on the site. But if you want to know more specifically about subscription, if you look up in the top navy bar on the site and click there, all of these details are there, okay? So in a nutshell, a busy attorney, a solo attorney, small firm, larger firm can request to work with one of our freelance lawyers in a subscription basis, anywhere from 20 hours per 4 weeks. Our subscription period is every 4 weeks. 20 hours to 160 hours. And we have a lot of 160 hours. We're going to talk about those more later on. We are going to get into some details about some of the really specific success stories that we're seeing. So stay tuned for those. I know people always love those real world stories, but how it works is you come to us, you tell us the type of virtual associate that you need, the experience, the talent level, their background. We go out and pre-vet them for you. So we save you a lot of time and hassle compared to the traditional hiring process. And then you also tell us which level of help you need. And this is the one thing I wanted to show here was the features and pricing. So we have 3 different levels of virtual associates, and that's something that will probably change in the future too. But starting out with the junior level associate, the hiring attorney is paying $75 an hour. The mid-level, someone with 5 or more years experience, $100 an hour. And for a senior level attorney, and these are really, I think, partner level attorneys, $140 an hour. So again, you can find all of this off of the homepage, lawclerk.legal. And certainly if you want to know more one-on-one directly after this program, you can also click book a demo to connect with one of our team members and get a customized demo for you. So that is, some of the key information about virtual associate subscription. So we go out, we do all of the time intensive work for you to pre-vet candidates. We're going to present the top candidates to you, typically somewhere between our top 3 to 6 candidates. And then if you want, we will help arrange an interview for your top 1 or 2 if you just can't narrow it down, or if you have a few questions you want to speak to them about. So we do a lot of the really time intensive work that saves a ton of time for you as a hiring attorney, because we know if you're at the point of needing to hire help, you're already slammed, you're busy, you don't have hours and days and weeks to go through the traditional hiring process. Greg, what would you like to add about how the program is designed to work?
Well, in my experience, the hiring process actually takes months. I don't think we've ever successfully, before launching LawClerk, added an associate in a time period that was probably less than 90 or 120 days on the upside.
You hired me a lot faster than that. I remember that.
Well, that was like instantly, Kristin. But having said that, the pool is just so deep, with just thousands and thousands of talented freelancers, that it really not only speeds it up, the quality of the candidates are better than I ever saw when we were hiring. And then most importantly, you really do get to drill down into exactly what you're looking for, in that the ideal candidate, whether it be a litigator with 5 to 8 years of experience, who's been in front of a jury, or a real estate lawyer who's got specialized knowledge in franchise leases and franchise agreements. These are all things that we've seen come through the site, and we've just found, just spot on, the candidate that people are looking for, to get more work done better and faster.
For sure. Let's talk about our freelancers a little bit more, because I know that for me personally, over the last few months, I have had more and more messages by email, social media, et cetera, from attorneys saying, you know what, I'm ditching my day job. I want to be a full-time freelancer. I think there's a really amazing segment of attorneys that are ditching that traditional law firm career and converting to a very flexible freelance career that helps them, mold that lifestyle that they want. Greg, what about you from your perspective? What are your thoughts on the talent level that we're seeing through the site?
Well, just to keep repeating this, the talent level is just amazing. Our freelancers, they're the heart and soul of everything that we do. They're the basis of the company we've built, but their talent level is second to none. And really what's happened over the last couple of years, since legal went remote, is that there was just a fundamental shift. And, it wasn't fair, but sort of pre-COVID, the idea that you wanted to work from home, the idea that you wanted to be a freelancer, it just wasn't widely accepted. It was sort of an early adopter component of legal. But, since we all went home and we went to court virtually, and, we don't meet with clients in person as much anymore, it just changed literally overnight. And we saw a decade of change happen in 4 or 5 months. And now, I don't want to say that it's necessarily to the place where most law firms have adopted it, but boy, we're getting pretty close to the fact that, virtually every law firm thinks of associates as working remote. And we all know the sort of dinosaurs of lawyers we've worked with, who are the sort of stick in the mud of like, no, that, got to be in the office next to me, got to be able to look at the paper, can't work electronically. That's a dying breed. And it really is not only a strategic advantage in the marketplace, it's a strategic advantage when it comes to getting the best work product done. And so, Kristin, we say this around the office. There was that magic moment where Uber went from, you want me to get in a stranger's car, to, now it's get home safe, take an Uber. And that happened overnight. And it sure feels, I'm certain of it. The legal changed overnight with virtual court appearances, and associates working remotely is the wave of the future. And it's just a better business model.
That's for sure. let's talk about the business model a little bit, because I think it's really important to make sure that anyone watching this understands the economics of why working with freelance lawyers through LawClerk is a real game changer for solo attorneys and small firms. So keep in mind, maybe you're going to hire a virtual associate for 40 hours a month and you're paying LawClerk $100 an hour. So you're going to pay $4,000 out. That might seem like a big chunk of money, but they're going to bill those 40 hours. And let's say that you determine based on their experience level, I'm just going to get my calculator out. You determine based on their experience level that their reasonable market rate for their work and their service is $250 an hour. Okay. So if they produce 40 hours of billable work and you bill it out at $250, that's $10,000. Okay. You're paying for, and that means you're bringing in an additional $6,000 of revenue of profit into your firm without the traditional overhead of office space and equipment and all the benefits, et cetera. Greg, I know this is something that gets you really fired up. So give me your perspective on how this is changing the economic business model for law firms.
So, everybody understands that law has been premised upon, billing the time of associates for the better part of 80 years. And I think virtually every lawyer, even if you're just a young associate beginning, says, how much am I getting paid and how much am I being billed? And there's a substantial profit margin there. This isn't commodity work. This is high gross profit stuff that we're talking about. And so, LawClerk for most firms is a substantial profit center. Kristin, you and I have built law firms in the past, and we built this product because we needed it and we wanted it, and we wanted to find the best talent and pay them fairly and make a profit on their time. And not to sort of give away too much of our own business, but we've made in our own law firm, we've made over $200,000 this year in profit on what we've paid freelance lawyers, paying them more than $100 an hour and charging them out at generally between $275 and $325. And it's a way to make a substantial economic improvement in the firm while at the same time building a relationship and making a market and making this freelance market work. And freelancers make a really good living at those sorts of rates. And so, the last thing I like to remind everybody is that, the old rule of thumb for hiring an associate used to be, you bill out their time, you hope to get 1,500, 1,700 billable hours a year out of them, but their revenue that they produce from their time is generally split into thirds, and 1/3 of it traditionally has gone to their compensation, 1/3 of it has gone to overhead, and 1/3 of it is supposed to go to profit of the firm. But in a traditional model, the overhead's way higher. We took the overhead component out of that. You no longer need the office space, you no longer need a lot of the infrastructure, you no longer have a lot of the costs. And so, we've taken that overhead component out. And then, the real game changer is that, we have attorneys who've hired full-time virtual associates. But what we tend to see is they want a couple hours a day, and they want, halftime. And so we tend to see 40 to 80 hours a month is sort of the sweet spot, because that's the amount of work they have. And when you set out to grow your firm, you may not have the ability to produce full-time work for an associate from day one. And that's just where the program is so great. It's just, you can start out at a quarter time, and then as you build your book of business, you get to halftime. And then you work your way up to needing multiple virtual associates. And, we have a lot of firms who they don't really need one full-time litigator, but they need a halftime litigator, and then they need a halftime transactional lawyer. And having those two specific skill sets is just a better business model. And so, at the end of the day, you can make as much or more money, yet lower the cost structure, hire exactly what you need, and build this great employment market for freelancers. And it really is win-win-win. Win for the hired attorney, win for the freelance virtual associate, and win for the client at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some of those wins. So there's nothing I love more than hearing from our users and the success that they're having with our program. And we've got so many stories. So we'll share a few of those today, because I think that people enjoy hearing those. One of my favorites is from an attorney I've gotten to know. He's a solo works primarily out of his home in Nashville, Tennessee, family law attorney. And he's been trying to revamp his practice and grow it. And he's connected with one of our freelancers. And in the very first month of working with the program, he emailed me and said, Kristin, I made an additional $7,000 of revenue this month. And yes, part of that was from the billing out the virtual associates time, but part of it was also from freeing up his own time to do deeper level work, the strategy work, and it just freed up his mind space to do that other work. And that also increased his billings for his own time, which was pretty exciting. So I love that. So that's kind of a very, maybe a smaller, relatable one. Greg, I know you have a great, really kind of big dollar example of a way that our virtual associate stepped in to help on a case. And I think.
Yeah, but I love that story. And I guarantee you, when we do this in 6 months, again, that number we should check in with him, because that number is going to be higher, because, he's growing his firm. He's doing the stuff that's important to growth, which is, not doing the first round of discovery responses, not doing the lower level of work, being able to focus on not only the strategic thinking, but focusing on marketing. And if that's what happened in month 1, guess what's going to happen in month 6? Then guess what's going to happen in year 2? Those numbers are going to go dramatically up. And what we see is that that this is a real basis to see really linear growth for the attorneys and the firms that work with us, and it's been great. And we have this client. We're going to be doing an in-depth analysis of what they did, but it was really sophisticated derivative shareholder work that was being done, and it involved a Chinese defendant. And what they did is they really needed, they're based in Texas, but they really needed talented lawyers who could do analytical work, reviewing discovery and other things that were bilingual. And so we found them perfect virtual associate who spoke, I think it was Mandarin, but was a natural Chinese speaker and writer, and reviewed 1 million pages of documents. And literally this week, headline winning case, and that they settled the case for a $300 million settlement. And this was a case that was on a hybrid contingency. It doesn't take a lot of math to figure out how valuable a contingency on $300 million is. I mean, this is sort of lifetime changing sort of types of cases, and they credit in large part finding exactly the freelance associate who was a virtual associate, or just an associate of the firm. They worked with them day in and day out remotely, who went through these documents and helped them find the keys to proving up this case. And we've all been involved in those cases where you find the one document, you find the string of documents that lead you to the right question, and they change the whole outcome. And what an amazing win for that firm and that client. But what better example of demonstrating how you get more out of hiring one of our associates, because you find really precisely what it is you're looking for to work up a particular case. And we see that fairly regularly, Kristin. I think you're probably closer to some of these stories than I am, but people hire a virtual associate for a particular case, and it runs an arc, and then a new case starts, and they need a slightly different skill set, and they find exactly the right person. And that's exactly the course of career that many of our associates, many of our lawyers who have who have every experience level you can imagine are looking for at the end of the day.
And I just can't help but think, this firm in Texas, how else would they have gone about finding that talent of a lawyer who could speak Mandarin to help with this very large document review case on a very high dollar case? And, it's really amazing to have a resource like this available to busy attorneys when they need it to find that unique talent nationwide. It opens up the doors to finding the right people.
Well, before they used one of our virtual associates, they actually went out into the market to try and find a solution before they thought of us. And they went the traditional route of looking to have documents translated And literally it was going to be I think it was a $10+ million cost estimate to have all of these documents translated, so that they could have one of their lawyers, look over them in English. One, nuance is lost when you do that translation, but two, anybody who's been involved in large scale litigation knows that the good documents are buried in the in the haystack. And so they had the ability to actually do the job better because they had somebody who was a lawyer with judgment, who knew what they were looking for, scouring through the documents, doing a cursory overview instead of a full translation, found the hot docs. The team went through them. They followed up. They asked the right questions at deposition. They pursued their case by motion practice and drove a settlement that's remarkable.
It really is. I think it's amazing. I just love that story. So we have a few more examples we want to talk about, but if you have specific questions, I wanted to go ahead and invite you to start typing those into the chat or the Q&A. We'd be happy to answer those questions live today. I also just wanted to highlight that, the program runs anywhere from 20 hours per 4 weeks to 160, but you can flex up and down within that. Maybe we've had some clients that they said, okay, look, we've got 3 trials coming up. We need help with deposition prep, trial prep, research, brief writing, motions in limine, all that stuff. And so they hire maybe 1 or 2 of our virtual associates, or let's say they just hire 1, and they start out at 30 hours per 4 weeks. And then as they get closer to trial, it's busier, they can increase it to 40. And then all of a sudden, boom, the case settles and they can scale it back to 20 to help with their normal caseload. So we have a very flexible program where you can flex up or down, as Greg's mentioned. And we also, I know we always get asked about what's the cancellation period. It is a 30-day notice. So we're not locking you into any long-term contracts. It is just a 30-day notice. So it's a very flexible way for you to find the help you need in the way you need it. And we've also had a number of clients come to us and actually hire full-time, 160 hours per 4 weeks. I mean, a full-time virtual associate. And that is just an amazing way. I know we're hearing all the time from attorneys that we talk to that it's really hard to find talent right now. It's hard to hire. And that's another reason why more and more firms are turning to the virtual associates as a resource to staff their firms.
And, the requests we get come in different types. So, just in the last week or so, we've had a big firm reach out to us and say, we've got a giant document production of millions of documents, and we want to put, 4 virtual associates on getting through those documents. And, we've had firms reach out and say, well, I've got this case that, it's going to live with me for the next 18 months. We had a transactional lawyer who just picked up a new client who said, boy, I need somebody to help me get operating agreements and other, kind of, I don't say basic, but lower level things in the works so that she could be freed up to do other things. And then, we certainly have the folks who come and say, I'm setting out to grow my firm, and I'm going to have 2, 3, 4, 5 virtual associates because it's better to use your pool than it is to go out and try and find them myself and focus on my business. And they set out to systemically build systems to grow their firm. And we see that it's working because we see them increasing the number of hours for virtual assistants, then adding a second and adding a third. And it really is a tool to grow your practice, to grow your law firm, to scale up and down with the flexibility. Because look, this is what the system is, and oftentimes people will roll off one subscription with us and roll immediately onto another. But lawyers are rightfully slow to hire full-time associates because what happens if the caseload changes? What happens if the economy takes a dip?
So got to meet that payroll.
Yeah, and nobody wants to fire people. Like, that's a really tough thing to do. You don't want to bring somebody on and take responsibility for them and then not be able to feed them enough work. And if you can't feed them enough work, that's profit out of your pocket.
That's for sure. That's for sure. So before we get into questions, Greg, I also love the example. I know you know of an attorney who actually used our virtual associates to help start and launch a new firm. Can you tell us some about that example?
Yeah. So, we have a user who has a successful law firm, but wanted to create a second law firm but didn't want to use their brand. It was more commodity work. It was more repetitive work, and used LawClerk to find a virtual associate that started out, I think, at 60 hours and then went up to 80 and then went up to 100, and is building this second firm to do a very, very specific type of work that they didn't want to use the regular firm for. And they didn't want to use the regular firm because the perception of the type of work was that it was commodity and it might arguably damage the brand of the main firm. And also, the associates were not well equipped to do a single type of work over and over and over again. And so, the entrepreneurial ways that in this business, we're in a service industry, the entrepreneurial ways to use talented lawyers is a endless pool that we're seeing really smart, really entrepreneurial lawyers adapting their business model to a changing world. And at the end of the day, law is changing. We can all debate how fast or slow it's changing, but it's definitely changing. And it just, I couldn't be more proud of what we've done in building this tool to help everybody in law do it better.
That's for sure. That's for sure. That's fantastic. So, all right. One of the questions that came in, thank you, was about what's the vetting process for virtual associates. So the way that works is when we get the request from you, you say, hey, I'm interested in subscription. I want someone with at least 5 years of experience doing immigration to help with family immigration and asylum cases. And I need them to be bilingual in Spanish and, just a really powerful writer. Okay. You give us that criteria of this dream unicorn candidate. And then we go out, we send notice about that opportunity to our freelancers. And then we review the initial applications. It's pretty common for us to get somewhere between 10 and 20 applications. And so we have a team of 2 attorneys that goes through those. And yes, they are attorneys who look at their credentials. We look at their bio, their resume. We look at their reviews and ratings of the work they've completed for other attorneys on the site. And then we also have a writing sample available. And so we look at those factors. Plus, as you can probably imagine, over the past several months and years, we've gotten to know our freelancers. And so a lot of times when we get a request in for subscription, we know like, oh, hey, so-and-so would be a perfect fit for this. I hope they apply, or if they don't, we reach out to them. So we narrow it down from, say, 10 to 20 candidates. We present you the top 3 to 6. And again, you get to see their resume, bio, writing sample. And again, if you want an additional writing sample, there's times we go and request those from certain freelancers. And last but not least, if you narrow it down to 1 or 2, but you want to ask them a couple of questions to really test their knowledge level and get a feel for their personality, then we set up interviews for you either over the phone or by Zoom, whatever your preference is. So this is the kind of holistic combination of how we approach this to make the hiring process much less burdensome for you and to help match you up with what we believe will be a great candidate for your virtual associate.
And Kristin, if I could just pick up on that, you and I, we've run big firms, we've run built a boutique. I've worked with a lot of headhunters in my life, and what they always do tends to be the same thing, which is, they get this high level view of what they think we, the firm need, and then they send over a candidate and they're like, this is the perfect candidate. And the reality is that there's a lot of nuance in this business, communication styles, whether you're a morning person, an evening person, work ethic, there's so many things that go into it that at the end of the day, I've had a lot less success with people telling me who I needed to hire than a gut check, interviewing people, reviewing their resumes, looking at their work product and hiring what the firm needs. And so we're very cognizant of that because we've done this. We've been in this world. We've hired people more than 100 times for our own firms. And so getting the best candidates and then letting the hiring attorney pick the one who's, soft skills, who's pick the phrase is the right fit for the firm, is critical to hiring, in our opinion. And it's the best way to hire, but it doesn't always work. Sometimes the person doesn't turn out to be who was in the interview. And this is, I mean, in private practice, you just hire in the traditional way. One of the best things about the system is, of course, not every match is going to work, because what we do is really complicated. It's really sophisticated. Lawyers are strong personalities. Sometimes they don't fit with one another. But if it's not the perfect fit, instead of starting the process over and spending another 4 to 6 months finding the right candidate and having to fire the first one, you reach out to your dedicated law clerk advisor and say, hey, this just isn't the right fit for us. Let's start the process again. And within, days, couple of weeks, you got a new pool of candidates to pick from. And we make sure that at the end of the day, you find the right personality that's the right fit for your firm, and we're your partner in that process.
Absolutely. So before I make my last, or I'll invite Greg to give his closing argument, I wanted to just say that, on the well-being side of things, if you've been pulling a few too many all-nighters, staying up late, feeling the extra stress of having maybe a bit more work than you can handle, you really owe it to yourself and to your clients to get that help you need to take your firm to the next level. And I know that we can be a powerful partner to you as you do that and you grow your firm to help more clients. So if you already have an account with LawClerk, I would invite you to reach out to your dedicated LawClerk advisor to explore subscription some more for you and your firm. If you don't have an account yet, no worries. You can schedule a demo on the homepage, or you can reach out to us. The best email to reach out and get connected with one of our team members is support@lawclerk.legal, support@lawclerk.legal. But I'm really excited for the way this is changing lawyers' lives, and with such a flexible, accessible way to try it. I mean, what do you have to lose? So we'd love to hear from you today and to help you explore subscription for your practice. Greg?
Well, Kristin, I think you covered it. One, thanks for setting this up. I think it's great that we give updates from time to time, because we do get so many questions. But every successful lawyer I know has sort of two common traits. They always say the same thing. They say a version of, I need to work smarter, not harder. And I need to find the best tools to grow my practice and to grow my firm. Because not only from an economic perspective, but from a personal fulfillment perspective, we're all on this arc of improving our practices and becoming subject matter experts and becoming known for what we do. And finding and circling yourself with the right talented team of people is both critical for business success, and it's critical for individual success in taking your practice to the place that it can be. And that's the heart and soul of why you and I set out to build LawClerk. And there's no doubt that thousands and thousands of lawyers are achieving just that outcome by using these tools. And of course, we'd like to see the rest of the legal profession come to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. Hope this was helpful to give you some more insight into how subscription is working for thousands of lawyers across the country. And again, if you want some help to help explore it for you and your practice, or even if you're interested in freelancing, we're always looking for more freelancers. Reach out to us on the site or email support@lawclerk.legal. Thank you.
Thanks, Kristin.